Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai, Pavanaputra Hanuman Ki Jai. It is Hanuman Jayanti, and we are back with another session of storytelling. Today I'll be reading from a piece that I've adapted from the great Ramayana. Of course, this piece will be about Hanuman, and this story is called The Leap of Faith. Hanuman sat alone, away from the thousands of monkeys further down the beach who were discussing their predicament. He stared at the waves lapping up on the seashore, but he hardly saw them. Instead, all he could see was the face of his Lord Ram the last time he had seen him. Sri Ram had walked with purpose through the ranks of Vanara soldiers and straight to Hanuman. Hanuman's hands were already pressed together in respect. His mace, his constant companion, also stood at attention, leaning against his legs, ready to be of service at any moment. When the Lord didn't speak at first, Hanuman finally looked into the face of Sri Ram to see him pulling the ring from his left hand. Hanuman held his cupped hands out and received the signet ring, which was still warm from being worn by the Lord. He looked up into the eyes of Sri Ram, which were shining with unshed tears and months of torment. The monsoon season had taken a toll on Lord Ram. Hanuman, who could understand the heart of his master, felt the pain radiating off of him in waves, not unlike the ones he was surrounded by now. Somehow, my heart tells me that you will be the one to find my Sita, Hanuman. When you find her, give her this ring, and she will know that you are mine. Ram's voice broke slightly at the mention of the queen's name, and Hanuman closed his eyes briefly, feeling pain tighten around his own heart. He pressed the ring to his eyes and forehead, treasuring the token which spoke of the faith that his master had in him. Hanuman felt very unworthy, but was absolutely sure that he would do whatever it took to take away the look of pain that he saw in the eyes of his beloved Lord. Now they had reached the shore of the southern sea. After looking for months, much longer than the allotted time that Sugriva had given them to find Sita Devi, they were ready to end their lives and admit defeat. At least some of the monkeys had been ready to end their lives. Hanuman never wanted to stop searching. He believed that death was not the way out. They had to find her. At that moment, like an answered prayer, they were blessed with Sampati, the brother of the old vulture king, Jatayu. Jatayu had given his life trying to protect Sita from Ravan, but in the end, the demon king proved to be too much for the vulture. Sampati had lost contact with Jatayu, but hearing about his brother from the Vanaras, Sampati was enraged that he had let Ravan cross the ocean to his kingdom on the opposite side of the sea without so much as a passing glance. That caught the attention of the monkey warriors. Ravan was exactly who they had been looking for, and he had passed right over the vulture unopposed. Their morale was bolstered now that they finally knew where Sita Devi was being held, but their joy was short-lived. They quickly realized that they had no way to cross the ocean to get a message to her. They discussed the options at length. Several of the strongest Vanaras could jump various lengths, but none of them could cross the ocean and make it back. Perhaps Angad could do it, but how could they send him? He was the crown prince of the Vanaras. He was the future of their kingdom. They couldn't jeopardize him like that, even if it was for this wonderful service to Lord Ram. Thoughts like those ran in circles in Hanuman's mind while he sat, feeling the weight of the signet ring that he pressed into his palm. The waves were unchanging, ever surging forward before dipping back to join the vast sea. It was almost worse knowing where Sita Devi was and not being able to reach her. Lord Ram's face, filled with torment, showed itself again when Hanuman, unable to take the pain, closed his eyes, tightening his fist around the ring. Hanuman? There was a gentle hand on his shoulder, and Hanuman turned to see the kind, compassionate face of Jambavan. Jambavan was an elder. He had been alive since the very dawn of creation. He had seen several incarnations of the Supreme Lord Vishnu advent, and he always seemed to have the answer when the Vanaras most desperately needed one. Hanuman was more than confused. He had tried thinking of every conceivable scenario in his mind, but he didn't know how they could accomplish their mission. Hanuman felt like a failure. He could only meet Jambavan's eyes for a moment before he dropped his head and looked down at the damp sand on the beach. Why do you sit alone? Why do I see such despondency in your eyes? Hanuman felt too defeated to even respond. How could he speak of the feelings that lacerated his heart? How could he admit that he felt as though he had failed his Lord? Hanuman knew that there was no way that they could find a way to cross the sea, no matter how much his mind worked or his heart hoped. But he couldn't give voice to those fears. That might make them official reality. Unable to find his voice to answer, he simply hung his head in shame. Hanuman, you are effulgent like the sun. You have knowledge of all the Vedas. Why don't you offer some solution to our problem? The Vanaras have nearly lost their lives because of anxiety and grief. Don't you know that you can save them? Hanuman's head snapped up to see Jambavan's rough, weathered face with a bright smile on it. Him? How could he save them? Don't you remember, Hanuman? You are one whose chin is broken. But don't you remember how you broke your chin? Born as the son of Keshari Raj and Anjana Devi, you were born empowered with the potency of the wind god Vayu himself. Jambavan was nodding his head knowingly. But what did his birth and parentage have to do with saving his tribe? As a child, seeing the brilliant sun in the sky, you mistook it to be a fruit and leapt up into the air, meaning to swallow it. You created such a fuss in the entire universe. All the predominating deities of the various planets were worried. Suryadev himself was worried. All the celestial planets were afraid of this one Vanara child. Jambavan chuckled, remembering the incident. Hanuman wanted to find the same amusement in the story, but he was still perturbed. But he didn't interrupt his elder. Finally, they ran to Indra to ask for help. The king of the heavens came, trying to stop you, but you would not be deterred. Finally, seeing no other course of action, Indra struck you with his thunderbolt. It hit you on the chin, and you fell back to the earth, unconscious. Hanuman's chin tingled a bit, as though just the mention of the incident was enough to remind him of that pain. He remembered being hit, but didn't remember anything after that. It was like trying to find his way through one of the many pitch-black caves that the monkeys had all navigated during their search for Sita Devi. As hard as he tried, he simply could not remember anything about what happened next. He listened, wondering if Jambavan could tell him something about the blank spot in his past. Once you were hit, your own father, not Keshari Raj, but Vayu, the wind god, was enraged. In retaliation, he withdrew all of the air from the universe. Jambavan shook his head, thinking back to the havoc that caused. He chuckled again, looking at Hanuman's confused face. Yes, no one could breathe. No one could even move. Everyone was in distress. They finally approached Lord Brahma, grandfather of the universe, sure that he would have some remedy to their current situation. He chastised Indra for treating you so roughly, but then advised all of the devas to go and appease Vayu. Vayu had taken you to a cave so that you could rest until you regained consciousness. The devas, led by the Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, arrived at the cave offering prayers to calm and please Vayu. When the god of the winds was finally pleased, sure that the devas were repentant, he returned the wind to the rest of the universe. In gratitude, and as an apology for all that had been done, the celestial demigods showered you with their best benedictions and boons. Jambavan gave Hanuman a knowing smile. Hanuman felt as though he were just on the verge of knowing something extremely important. He didn't dare breathe as Jambavan continued. Indra gave you the blessing that just as you were hit by his Vajra, his thunderbolt, every limb of your body would become stronger than his invincible thunderbolt and would be invulnerable to any weapon. Surya, who you were so boldly running after, granted you with 1/100th of his brilliance, giving your body its celestial glow. He also promised that when you were old enough, he himself would become your teacher and teach you all the Vedas. Jambavan paused as Hanuman brought his clasped hands up to his forehead to pay respect to his dear teacher. Varuna, Lord of the seas, gave you the blessing that you would never be in any danger from any body of water. Agni blessed you that fire could never harm you, and Vishwakarma, the celestial architect, blessed you that you would be immune to even the greatest of celestial weapons. Yamaraj, Lord of Death, blessed you that you would never see his rod of punishment. He also gave you the benediction that no illness would ever befall you, and you would never fall victim to any kind of disease. Lord Shiva, the great destroyer, whose potency you also carry within you, promised that you would never meet death at his hands or at the hands of anyone within this universe. Jambavan was becoming more lively the more he spoke, and Hanuman could see that the elderly Jambavan wasn't simply remembering the incident, he was reliving it. His smile grew wider and his confidence was infectious. Hanuman began to feel differently. Where earlier all he could see was despair like dense monsoon clouds hanging over him, now his fears and anxiety began to dissipate, rolling off of his shoulders first, and as the weight of those fears drifted farther and farther away from him, a warmth began to spread throughout his body, starting somewhere deep within his heart and radiating outward. He could actually believe in what Jambavan was saying. It wasn't simply a matter of hearing him, but it was as though once he heard it, his mind, his body, even his soul agreed and yearned to hear more. He felt as though the most important part was yet to come. Lord Vishnu blessed you, decreeing that you would be the greatest devotee, the best servant of his. And Brahmadev, creator of all the worlds, gave you the benediction that you would only die at a time of your choosing. If you chose, you could live even for as long as him. He also gave you the benediction that you would be able to change your form and size at will for the sake of your service. There were a host of celestials there that gave you many other blessings and good wishes. You also obtained the blessing that in the course of your service, no curse would ever be able to hamper you. Jambavan's face looked decades younger. It seemed as though just talking about this experience gave him a life and vitality that had been lost to him for some time. Hanuman's eyes widened. Finally registering all that Jambavan said, memories which were previously like flimsy wisps of silk clouding his mind, came rushing back to him. Had he not been sitting already, Hanuman might have felt off balance. Suddenly everything was clear to him, as though it had just happened yesterday. Where Hanuman had felt defeated before, he now felt more empowered than ever. Suddenly, because of the words of Jambavan, he knew, absolutely and without doubt, that he could find Sita Devi and deliver Sri Ram's message. But his ability was spurred by something else as well. He thought of Sri Ram and how he had already proclaimed that Hanuman would be the one to find Sita. He knew that anything his master said could never prove false. The encouragement of Jambavan and Hanuman's faith in his Lord Ram made Hanuman jump to his feet. "You're right. Because of the blessing of Lord Vishnu, I can do anything for Lord Ram. For the sake of his service, I could crush the mountains with my bare hands. I could part the oceans with my arms. I could drag Lanka here by force, and I can scatter the stars in the sky. My Ram has unlimited strength, and as his servant, I will have unlimited strength in order to carry out his mission. My dear teacher Jambavan, you are right." Hanuman was shouting, and the other monkeys were beginning to wonder about the commotion. But Hanuman couldn't hold in his excitement any longer. "I will cross the ocean to deliver Sri Ram's message to Sita Devi. I will bring my queen out of her sorrow and return happiness to Lord Ram. I will go." Hanuman smiled broadly, his happiness making his eyes dance. Remembering the blessing of Lord Brahma, Hanuman focused on the best mantra he knew. "Ram," he murmured. Taking the name of the Lord as a sacred incantation, he began to expand in size. He grew bigger and bigger by the moment until he was looking down on the trees and he was eye level with the tops of the mountains. The Vanaras ran to where Hanuman was, crowding around his feet, looking like play figurines. Hanuman smiled, and he could see that Jambavan was smiling back, raising his right hand in a silent blessing. The other monkeys were so astonished that they immediately forgot their earlier worries and became enthusiastic and full of life. They clapped and cheered. Some leaped in the air with arms raised, praising Hanuman, and others chanted the name of Sri Ram. Hanuman roared the name of Ram, and as they listened to him roar, the feeling of hope spread through the entire camp until it took on a form that was more than a simple feeling and became an absolute truth. The Vanaras were relieved, knowing that their service to Ram would be completed after all. With a shout and a leap that shook the earth to its core, Hanuman soared into the sky and out over the vast ocean towards Lanka. After hearing this gorgeous story of Sri Hanuman, I want to end with a reflection and a meditation that is at the end of this story. Rise up and reach your full potential. You are a tiny spark, but you can develop into a huge flame. Know for sure that all of your abilities come from a supreme, inexhaustible source. A divine source filled with more love, strength, and magic than you could ever imagine. So rise up. Do those things that make your heart sing. Do those things that make you feel like you should do them, but maybe you aren't sure you can do. Take the name of the Lord of your heart and remember who you are. We are servants of a divine master and are therefore supremely endowed and empowered with gifts that only we can give. It was with that faith in his own innate abilities and faith in the strength of the name of Sri Ram that Hanuman literally took a leap of faith in order to carry a message of love from Ram to Sita in the ultimate definition of service. I pray that I can develop faith in my own abilities because they come from a divine source. I pray that I can develop faith in the name of my beloved Lord and carry his message of love. I pray to be of service, and through that service, bring the ultimate happiness to the Lord of my heart. Shri Ramachandra ki jai. Pavanapatra Hanuman ki jai. Shri Hanuman Jayanti Mahamahotsav ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai. See you all again next time.